Okay, my friends, what we're going to do is explore a beautiful teaching. Thank you for welcoming me, Philip. Thank you. Nice to be with you. It's a beautiful teaching and one of the most fundamental teachings. And if one would really boil down the essence of Judaism, the essence of life, it really comes down to three words, which we're going to experience. And those three words, if a person is able to integrate them into their lives, will be the elixir, essentially, that will provide a person a fluid experience in life, a less abrasive experience in life, the ability to remove a lot of the residual pain and suffering that a person might carry in life unnecessarily. And essentially, the two main things that we said, anger and frustration, can be turned into honey, turned into something sweet. Yeah. So let's try and understand what this teaching is. What are these three fundamental words that we can integrate into our lives? And we'll try and see how to practically allow them to manifest within our experience. Okay? So this teaching is from the Baal Shem Tov. It's a famous teaching. It's a famous equation that he offers to deal with life's issues. But it's essentially the teaching or the deeper teaching of Kabbalah in terms of how to approach our lives, how to approach all of the flux or all of the potential tribulations that everyone has to experience in some form or another. Okay? So let's have a look. And it shouldn't be that people should experience any serious tribulations, but even the most minute elements of, just an element of anxiety or aspects of depression or those moments of frustration and anger, how are we actually meant to deal with them in a healthy way, in a deeper way? How can we alleviate them? So the Baal Shem Tov starts off with a verse from the Torah. And the verse is a famous verse in which it says, Loi toiv heyes adam levadai, es eloi eze kenegdai. It is not good for a person to be alone. So I will make for them a helpmate against them. Okay, literally, that's how you read the verse. It's not good for a person to be alone. Loi toiv heyes adam levadai, ese Loi eze kenegdai. I will make for him a helpmate against him. Yeah? How paradoxical is that? What does that mean? A helpmate against you? Either you're helping me or you're against me. What does that mean? How can I help you if I'm against you? So now, this archetypally is a reference to one's spouse. It's not good for us to be alone. So Hashem makes for us a counterpart, but it's more the counter than the part. It's more the abrasion within the relationship that's being honed in here. A person experiences, by definition, by virtue of a separate entity that they're living with, a person that's been brought up differently, a person has a completely different way of outlook on life, a different makeup, is going to sometimes bring an abrasion within the experience of the relationship. But the Baal Shem Tov is going to apply this principle to every abrasion in life. Okay? And he's going to show us that those states that we all pine for, called levadoi, okay? What is it to be alone? When everything is somewhat orchestrated exactly how we want it to be. I was speaking to an individual. They said to me, I learn your things. We learn together. And it seems like I'm in a state of tranquility and peace. When do I feel that peace? When I go on my business trip and I'm sitting in business class. I'm by myself. I'm in the airport. Everything's served to me. I go to my hotel. Everything's organized. I'm tranquil. I'm like Buddha, not that we should mention his name. I'm like whatever it is, in a state of tranquility. Everything is perfect. Nothing bothers me. As soon as I come home, I've lost it. I don't know what's gone. What's happened? I've lost my enlightenment. I've lost my tranquility. I've lost everything, As soon as I come home and I see my children, I see my wife, everything's gone. What's going on? And essentially what the Baal Shem Tov is teaching us here is that it's not good for us to be alone. We all need those moments of being alone, yes. But life essentially has abrasions. Life essentially has those moments of turbulence. Life essentially is going to give us experiences where we don't always feel comfortable. And the Baal Shem Tov is going to explain to us why. Why can't we always be in a perfectly constructed greenhouse environment where everything is suited perfectly to how it should be? Why should there be experiences of abrasion? So he's going to teach us 3 of the most fundamental words. If Judaism allowed for you to tattoo things onto your arms, it would be these 3 things that you would have to tattoo on your essence in order to be able to deal with the tribulations of life and turn those moments of pain into honey. What are these 3 words? 3 fundamental words, okay? The first word is something called hachna. Hachna means to humble oneself, okay? And we're going to explain what that means. These words aren't going to mean much to you until I explain them, okay? But I'm going to say them to you so you can emblaze them on your walls, in your minds, wherever you need to engrave this into your essence. These are the 3 most fundamental words of existence. Hachna, humbling. Havdalah, separating. Okay, we know Havdalah we make to separate between the sanctified and the mundane. That's the concept of Havdalah, to separate. Okay, the second word is separating. And the final word is Hamtoka, sweetening. Okay, sweetening. 3 words. Hachna, humbling. Havdalah, separating. And Hamtoka, sweetening. Okay? So what the Baal Shem Tov explains is this is the antidote. These are the mentalities that we have to enter into. Anytime you're feeling a state of turbulence, of anxiety, of fear, of some experience emotionally that you're not comfortable with, okay? The initial standpoint is to enter into the place or the mentality of hachna, okay? And it's almost the most difficult one, okay? If you don't enter into hachna, you almost can't proceed with the next steps, okay? What is hachna? What is humbling? What does it mean to humble yourself? So, what it means is, if we were to consider what is the greatest danger when it comes to our emotions? What is the greatest danger when we have a circumstance that makes us angry? Okay, and it could be from our spouse, it could be from another relationship, it could be from our children, our work colleagues, our employees, our employer. Or it could just be that taxi that drives past you too fast, it doesn't let you through. Whatever the experience is of worry, of doubt, what's the greatest issue? The greatest issue falls into place when we identify with that emotion, when we believe that that emotion is us, when we say, gosh, I'm feeling so much anger, or gosh, I'm feeling so down and depressed, or gosh, I'm feeling so resentful. And what takes place is that emotion is identified, or you identify that emotion as you. This is me. And if it's me, I have to focus on that emotion. I have to focus on me. I have to engage with me. Now, the ego in us loves that. That's exactly what it loves to do. It loves to find different emotions and identify you with those emotions. So if you're feeling horrible, gewaldig, the ego has now won. It is now going to force an individual to focus on that feeling, to identify with it, to say that's me. So an example of that is anger starts to bubble. An experience happens which causes you to feel that someone wasn't sensitive to you in a certain way. And now anger starts to bubble, starts to simmer. What the ego wants to do now is to allow that anger to totally overwhelm the person, totally take over, totally be the essence of who that individual is. Before that anger or emotion can even start, the process of humbling the self is to say, whoa, 1 second. I'm feeling an emotion. I understand that I'm feeling an emotion, but that's not me. That's not essentially who I am. That's just an emotion. Just like there's clouds in the sky, I still know that there is a blue sky behind those clouds. That cloud is not me. That emotion is not me. What the Kabbalists refer to emotions are winds. You don't look outside and see a storm and say, gosh, that storm is me. No, the storm's outside. And same too, there is an emotion. There is a wind that is coming through your experience of life, but it's not you. And thus, when we have that first engagement with frustration or anger, to quell that down and not allow it to start to usurp the identity of the person is the concept of humbling. Hachna, lower it. Understand that's not you. Don't allow it to overpower you now because you think that's your identity. Okay, that's the first step. Any questions so far on that step? All right, let's go to the second step. If anyone wakes up with a question, please feel free to just jump in there. Okay. So the second step is the following. The second step is hamtoka. Hamtoka means, the second step is havdalah. Havdalah means to separate, okay? Separating. So now let's say you're walking around feeling anxious and you've heard this shiur and the shiur tells you, or these 3 words, you've heard the first word to say hachna, humble yourself. So you say to yourself, gosh, okay, Shmulik, you're feeling a certain way, but realize that's not essentially who you are. You don't have to define yourself by that emotion. That emotion isn't essentially you. So, okay, just, that's the wind there, zip up your jacket. That's the wind for right now. Just hold yourself a little bit. Don't let that emotion overcome you and transform into you. That's not you. That's just an emotion that you're feeling. But then what's the next stage? What's the point of that? So the next stage is to come along and be mavdil, to separate it from you, okay? To separate it from you. Now, what that means is in order to separate something away from you, you have to have a you first, okay? In order to separate that emotion away from you, you almost have to experience another part of yourself in order to separate it. The issue that people face is that when they have an emotional experience or have some turbulence in life, they don't know what else to define themselves by. They don't know what other experience there is to have. They don't know what else to identify with. So now the next stage, which is called havdalah, separating, is being able to then identify with the deeper place within inside of silent tranquility, of spirituality, of a state of expansivity. There's a deeper place within everyone where the soul is connected, which is unaffected by that place of turbulence. There's a place of silent expansivity where the mind just is quietened, where the body is relaxed and a person is able to tap into that inner space of being. And that is necessary, almost if we would use the analogy of the wind, okay, which we call the emotions, and we've had lots of it in the past couple of days. What do you do when you have that wind? You close your doors, you close your windows, and then you understand the wind's outside. But the next step is to realize, wow, it's warm, It's comfortable in my home. I can put a heater on. If I have a fireplace, where you're really lucky, Gavaldik, I mean, there's nothing better than a fireplace. But you can light your fire. You can keep yourself, you can put a nice blanket on like Jenny. You can keep yourself warm and comfortable, you know? And that's the next state, where a person is able to understand there's the emotion, and I have to understand that there is also a place of warm, comfortable safety inside of my experience of life. That's the next stage. Find that place and then say, the emotion's there. I'm going to zip myself up. I'm going to experience the warmth. There's the emotion. All right. Now that I'm holding with the emotion over there and I'm warm on the inside, I still see the emotion. I still understand that I might be feeling a state of anxiety or concern or fear, whatever that experience may be. I understand that that's not me and that there's a deeper me that's there, okay? The next experience, the final word of what a person needs to do is hamtoka. Hamtoka means to sweeten. Sweetening means that you don't only keep the emotion distant from you, but you realize that what the emotion or that turbulence that you're feeling, that wind that's pervading through your experience of life is actually lost spiritual energy, lost godliness, lost elements of tranquility, and lost elements of connectivity that want to be returned back to its source. An example of that, okay? I'll give you an example. And really what a person needs to do is sweeten up that element, okay? I'll give you an example. You'll notice I'm not wearing my usual white and black. It's still white and black here. You know, here's a white shirt and a black sweater. But I just went with the kids to a beautiful place called the Green Belt in Constantia. Okay, beautiful, beautiful place. Went there walking with the dogs, and they were walking on the logs over the lake there. Absolutely gorgeous, really special place. And as I'm walking there, you know, I get a call, which is really unfortunate that you know, there was a passing and I have to do a funeral. Okay, God forbid, but that's the circumstance. And now, you know, automatically that type of experience, you know, puts you into a state of flux. Well, now I have to prepare this. I don't know what's going to be with that. I don't know what's going to happen with this. There's all these elements that start to pervade through your experience of life. Call it anxiety, call it fear, call it whatever it may be. But I started to feel that energy inside of myself while I'm walking through this beautiful place with my kids. And I'm saying to myself, well, what is this element? What is this energy that's inside of me? It's unpleasant. I don't want it there. And I know that I have things to do, but what do I do with it? Okay. So the first step is to come along and say, Hachna. Shmulik, your fear is not you. Your anxiety is not you. Understand that that's just an energy that's passing through you. That's a wind that's passing through you. Okay. That's okay. Understand that it's there. All right. Zip yourself up and go weiter, which means go forward. The next step is to then find that place of serenity inside. Find that place of quiet. It could be that you need to just retain or bring yourself back to your breath and focus on your breath and feel a silent serenity internally. It could be that I was very lucky. I was surrounded by nature, and nature is very still and very tranquil and very beautiful. And in that environment, you can find a stillness in that as well. And you can say, look at that tree. Wow, look at that silence in it. Look at that depth in it. Look at that expansiveness in it. That's in you as well. Resonate with that energy. Feel that energy inside of yourself. It could be through learning Torah, whatever you need to go to in order to find that inner space of silence and tranquility. Exercise, whatever you need to do, but allow yourself to enter into that deeper space of purity and tranquility. And now that I found that place, I can return back to the energy of fear and anxiety and say to myself, all right, here's a wind. It's blown into my experience of life. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. I need to actually put up a windmill. I need to now direct that wind back to its source. So now what I need to do is take the attribute of awe, take the attribute of fear, take the attribute of woe, and bring that to a state of holiness. So I started to think about the awe and the fear of Hashem. Started to think about, gosh, wow. I mean, there is so much grandeur to Hashem. There's so much greatness to Hashem. There's so much I have to be careful of. There's only one element to fear in life. There's only one element that I have to be focused on in life. Whatever happens in life happens, and directing that energy that's flowing through me towards that focal point of spirituality. Now, this attribute can be applied in all different forms of emotional pain, be it the attribute of depression, be it the attribute of laziness, be it the attribute of anger, be it the attribute of negative expressions of passion. All of these elements have a place that need to be directed towards, need to be, resurrected, need to be freed back to its essence, back to its connected state, to its source. What the Baal Shem Tov does is he takes this verse and he brings it to one of the most strangest examples, okay? And I think this will give us lots of context in terms of how to apply this in our lives, okay? And we'll conclude with this example and then just open it up for any potential questions to understand what we're talking about any further. He says the following: what's it mean that it's not good for a person to be alone? It's not good for a person to be alone. So Hashem made for a person an Ezer Kenegdo. Hashem says, Shmuel, it's not good for you to just be in a state of tranquility and focus with everything just going the exact way that you think it should be going, that you can just teach your classes and just be with the family and organize things for the community. You need a little bit of, shaking up here. Why? It's not good for you to be alone, Hashem says. So he says, let me make you an Ezer Kenegdo. Let me make you a helpmate against you. And that can again manifest in all different elements, in relationships or lack of relationships. It could be in elements of, again, as we spoke about, anxieties or fears. So what the Baal Shem Tov does is gives a very unique example. He says, you could be davening, sitting there, standing there, davening with your siddur in front of you. And he says some individual decides in whatever capacity to start making a noise. It could be that their phone starts ringing. It could be one of those really annoying circumstances where the person's shockling on the seat, that creaky seat, and it makes it, that sound every time they're moving back and forward, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? I'm just going to kill it, whatever it is, Or it could be, someone building outside or talking, whatever that circumstance is. We have plenty of it, especially in lockdown, where we're not davening in such a safe space such as shul, but you've got whoever and whatever running around, yeah? So in that circumstance, he says the following. You've got this individual. I'll read it to you in his words. What you should do in that circumstance, turn that circumstance of against you as a helpmate towards you. Understand that there is something very nutritious, very blissful, very spiritual in the seemingly dark experience of life. Vehevein, and understand. Ulekach im al yidei shochen ra, mevalbel tfilasoyo teirasoyo shar bittel, where you have this individual standing next to you and talking or disturbing you. And that again applies to any form of disturbance or abrasions in life. Yitein leiv lahavin. Give yourself the ability to focus in. Shuhu letoivasai. This is for your good. This is for your benefit. This is for your blessing. This is for you. This whole reality of annoyance, this guy that stood next to you and starts davening really loudly and or speaking next to you or behind you, he's actually doing this for you. Hashem sent him for you. Why? That you shouldn't have a straight ability to focus. That there should be a little bit of turbulence. That there should be a little bit of, whatever's taking place. Something that's moving your focus, your tranquility is a little bit turbulent. And to make you feel, I mean, gosh, I want to learn, I want to daven, and this noise is around me. What do? And you come along and you make yourself even stronger. You make yourself able to overcome that experience of pain, of turbulence, of dissonance. And you find that energy inside of you through those 3 steps that we said. Hachna, gosh, I'm feeling really angry. But 1 second, that anger isn't me. Number 2, Havdalah. I need to separate this from me. Understand that inside of me is a place of connection, is a place of sanctity, is a place of tranquility. And Hamtoka, sweeten that experience. Say, thank you, Hashem, for this opportunity now. I see that these thoughts that are coming into me actually want to be uplifted. You've used me as an avenue to uplift the spiritual energies of this world. And that's how he explains what this verse is saying. The reason why Hashem doesn't leave us alone, leave me alone, people say, leave me alone. You know why Hashem doesn't leave us alone? Because Hashem wants to give us the opportunity to discover the light in the dark, to be able to uplift those energies and sweeten them. Those are the most spiritual forms of experience. So practically, if you're feeling miffed about something, if you're feeling upset about something, and you're driving in the car or experiencing something in your life or doing something that is just really causing you to be upset, understand that you don't have to carry that feeling. Understand that that feeling isn't you. Understand that that feeling is something that is separate to you. It's still a feeling that you're feeling. It's just a wind that you're feeling. Separate it. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to experience it constantly, be it a resentment, a grudge, a negativity. Then find that inner place. Find that inner sanctity, that inner oneness, that inner tranquility. And then revert back to that energy and uplift it back to its source. What are you feeling? Is it fear? So then bring it back to a spiritual fear. What are you able to be in awe of? What are you able to experience fear of in a healthy way of life? Look at Hashem's creations and be awed. Is it a state of whatever other experiences a person has? And those all need attention of how to engage with them. But this shir is specifically about anger and frustration. Allow it to be channeled back in, into a healthy spiritual experience. And this is really the 3 fundamental words on how to sweeten anger and frustration. Separate it from you. Understand that there's an inner place inside of you, and then uplift that emotion and that experience and that energy back to a state of holiness, okay? So let's just give that open for any potential questions or, if you need me to explain anything further. Pauline?
Let my husband talk.
Yeah, no, hi, Rabbi. It just seems what you're saying, that it's an essential part to experience this friction, if I can use that word, that there's something in front of you. It's like lighting a matchstick. You need the flame and you need the fire in order to become alive. So it seems a very natural part of the so-called your existence as a human being, that the friction should be here. You should experience the opposites, even in a relationship or within friendships. You should be not challenged, but you should see there's an opposing view here. And how does that make me feel? Or how can I grow from that? Or how can my viewpoint perhaps change, etc., etc.? So it does seem to be an essential element of what you're talking about.
Definitely. And I love that example that you brought there, Mr. Lou. Very, very nice. The concept of a match. Yes. and striking that match against something that's abrasive, and it creates a flame. And it's almost that we have these abrasive elements in our lives, and they're actually opportunities in whatever form or fashion to be illuminated through that experience. And be it that we learn from the experience, if we learn about how to restructure ourselves in our lives, or learn from a state of contradiction or something that's abrasive. But then we've taken it even further to learn about ourselves, to have this as an avenue to discover the spiritual element of ourselves through the abrasion. You know, it's almost like we wait for those moments where everything is serene and we can finally feel that everything is left alone, you know, and now we can have these epiphany form of experiences of connection and illumination. But what we're learning here is, in fact, those aren't the actual times that we are at these spiritual elative states. It's actually once we've worked through these abrasive elements in our lives and allow them to turn into a flame of illumination. So I love that example that you brought in there. Thank you so much. Yeah. Any other points here or questions, comments, abrasions? Gewaldig. Okay. Thank you so much for...
It's just nice to have my husband here, Len.
Len, it's nice to have you with us as well. It's really a treat to learn together with you. And it should just be a bracha for all of us to realize the opportunities that we have in any form of struggle. God willing, they shouldn't be serious struggles. They should be little ones. And we should be able to elevate those experiences whenever we feel them by understanding that these are spiritual hubs for connectivity and for elevation and for connection to Hashem. Hashem should illuminate every single person with much bracha, health and joy, shalom and happiness. And God willing, we'll continue our journey together in growth and tranquility and connection to Hashem. All the best and look after.
Amen. Amen to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chevra. Kol tov.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.